All right, let's get right into it. We need to talk about a force that's more powerful than money, more addictive than any drug, and frankly, more influential than beauty or status. It's a weapon, it's a currency, and it's a deep, deep human need all rolled into one. And you know the most dangerous part? The part we really have to be careful with? Most of us are completely unaware of how it's running our lives every single day. So let me just ask you a question straight up, and I want you to be really honest with yourself for a second. From the minute you open your eyes in the morning to the moment you finally fall asleep, what is the one thing you are constantly, and I mean constantly, hunting for? It's not always conscious. It's often this background hum, this drive. And it's not money. Not really. It's not even love, at least not in the way we usually think about it. No, this is something else, something much more primal. That's it. Attention. It's the invisible fuel for our entire social existence. It is the one signal that cuts through all the noise and tells our nervous system, hey, you matter. You're real. You exist. And in the world we're living in now, a world that is literally designed to splinter our focus into 1,000 tiny little pieces, well, real, genuine, undivided attention has become the rarest, and because of that, the most valuable commodity on the entire planet. And look, this isn't some new age idea or a recent problem. This is baked right into our biology. It's in our DNA. This hunt, this need, it literally begins with our very first breath. The cry of a newborn isn't just for food. It's a demand to be noticed. It is a lifelong quest that quietly shapes our friendships, our careers, and all of those secret desires we never speak out loud. And if you can understand this hunt, you're on your way to understanding the hidden rules of power and connection that govern our world. So why is this need so incredibly profound? Let's really dig into the mechanics of this unseen human hunger. Because this isn't about being needy or having a big ego, not at its root anyway. No, what we're talking about is a fundamental, biological and psychological need. It's as essential to our mental and emotional well-being as oxygen is to our lungs. Let's break that down. Getting someone's full, focused attention, it feels like a deep breath of fresh air, doesn't it? That's because it's a biological signal that reassures our nervous system that we're safe, that we're part of the tribe, that we exist. When we don't get it, our sense of reality can actually start to blur. We can begin to doubt our own value, our own existence. And here's the crucial part. Your entire sense of self-worth is built brick by brick from the quality of attention you receive. And this is where the danger creeps in, because it's addictive. Once you've tasted that high-quality focused recognition, anything less, it just feels hollow. You start to crave it. And that brings us to the central, really painful paradox of our time. We live in this age of what they call hyperconnectivity, right? We have access to thousands of friends online, hundreds of followers, instant communication, and yet, so many of us feel completely and utterly alone. We are, in effect, starving in the middle of a feast. A digital feast that promises connection, but delivers something else entirely. And here's the trap. On one side, you have what we could call digital junk food. You know, the likes, the shares, the quick comments. There are these little hits of validation. They're like sugar rushes. They feel good for a second, but they're empty calories. They leave you feeling hollow and wanting more just a few minutes later. And then on the other side, you have what we are actually starving for: genuine connection, true presence, deep recognition. The modern world has trained us to binge on the junk food. And in the process, I think we've almost forgotten what a real, nourishing meal even feels like. And when you're living on that diet of digital junk food, this is the result. This haunting state where you just skim across the surface of your relationships. You know the feeling? You're in a room full of people, you're smiling, you're nodding, you're liking, you're commenting, but you never actually connect. You never sink in. You never touch the depths. You're surrounded by people, but you feel profoundly, deeply alone because nobody is really seeing you. Okay, so if almost everyone is walking around starving for this one thing, for real, genuine attention, what does that actually mean? It means that the person who learns how to provide it, well, that person wields an immense, almost frightening amount of power.
This universal hunger can be weaponized. Attention, when it's given deliberately, when it's focused, it becomes the ultimate tool of influence, and yes, of seduction. And this is where we have to tread very, very carefully.
Let's redefine a word that we all think we know: empathy. We usually think of empathy as just being nice or feeling sorry for someone. But in this context, in the context of influence, it is something far more active and far more potent. It's the rare, difficult skill of deliberately quieting your own mind, stepping outside of your own ego, and for a moment living inside their world. It's about seeing things from their perspective so completely that you can articulate their own feelings better than they can. When you do this for someone, you make them feel seen on a level that is absolutely intoxicating. This isn't about kindness. It's about creating a connection so deep it becomes a form of power.
So, what stops us? If this power is just waiting to be used, what gets in the way for 99% of people? It's one thing: self-absorption. It's that constant nagging inner monologue, that focus on our own thoughts, our own anxieties, our own stories. This internal noise, this voice in our head, it is the absolute kryptonite to real empathy and connection.
I mean, just think about the last real conversation you had. Were you truly 100% listening to the other person? Or were you just waiting for them to take a breath so you could jump in? Were you absorbing their words, their tone, their body language? Or were you busy, in your own head, crafting your witty response, thinking about a similar story that happened to you, just waiting for your turn to perform? This single habit, this constant mental rehearsal of our own lines, this is the exact moment where genuine connection goes to die. And we do it dozens of times a day without even realizing it.
So, let's say you can overcome that self-absorption. Let's say you learn to quiet that inner voice. How is this power actually used? This brings us to the art of seeing deeply. And I need to be crystal clear here. This is dangerous knowledge. What I'm about to break down is a method. It's a set of techniques. In the right hands, they can be used to build the most profound, beautiful connections of your life. But in the wrong hands, they can be used to manipulate. It is absolutely critical that you understand them, whether you plan to use them yourself or simply to defend yourself from them. So here's the method, step by step. First, you learn to observe, not perform. You enter their world quietly. You're a detective. You watch their body language, you listen to their tone of voice, you notice the stories and the words they repeat over and over. Your goal is not to judge, it's just to gather data. Step 2, you find their self-image. Everyone has a private portrait they hold of themselves. Maybe they see themselves as the misunderstood genius, the unsung hero, the kind soul, the dangerous rebel. Your job is to figure out what that portrait is. Then, step 3, you reflect their best self. You become a mirror, but not just any mirror, a mirror that affirms the qualities they're most proud of. You validate the hero, you agree with the rebel, you reinforce what they already desperately want to believe about themselves. And then, the final and most potent step, you withdraw strategically. Once they're used to your high-quality attention, you pull it back slightly. Its absence creates a vacuum. It makes them anxious. It proves its value through scarcity. Think about it like this. What kills attraction and connection? Challenging someone's idea of who they are, forcing your opinions on them, giving them constant, cheap, generic attention. You're so great, you're so smart. It's meaningless. But what builds it? You affirm the traits they value most, you step inside their worldview for a moment, and you give rare, specific, individualized attention. Don't just say you're a good leader. Say, the way you handled that tense meeting yesterday, the way you listened to everyone before making a decision, that was true leadership. See the difference? One is generic praise. The other is proof. It proves you're actually paying attention. And that proof is incredibly seductive. So, we've taken this all apart. We've dissected this powerful and frankly dangerous dynamic. We can see how this universal human hunger for attention creates a deep vulnerability in all of us. And we can see how empathy, or at least the performance of empathy, can be used to exploit that vulnerability. And this leaves you at a crossroads. There's no going back. You can't unknow this. The only thing you can do now is choose how you're going to engage with this fundamental reality of human interaction. You're now facing two paths, and you have to choose one. The first path is desperation. This is the default setting for most people. You spend your life chasing those little hits of shallow validation, the likes, the compliments. It leaves you feeling anxious, insecure, and, let's be honest, pretty easy to manipulate by anyone who understands this game. The second path is influence. This is the path where you learn to seek out and, more importantly, give deep, focused attention. When you become a source of this rare commodity, you become magnetic. You gain a level of control over your own social destiny that most people can't even imagine.
But let me be absolutely clear. Make no mistake. This is not a game. This power to make another human being feel profoundly seen and understood, it is a sharp-edged tool. It is a blade. Used carelessly or with malice, it will wound people deeply. But used with care, with integrity, with mastery, it can bind people to you for life. So here's the bottom line. The hunt for attention, it's not optional. You're in the game whether you like it or not. You will spend your entire life engaged in it, one way or another. So the only real choice you have is how. Will you be the one who masters the art of giving attention, and in doing so gain real influence and deep connection? Or will you be the one who spends your life begging for scraps of validation from others, always on the receiving end, always being controlled? You can master this power, or you can spend your life as its victim. Which will you choose?